If you're an independent personal trainer and you're trying to get clients in your area, the best way to do that isn't to become internet famous and to post tips and videos on Instagram. What you really need to do is to be known in your community locally. And one of the best ways to do that is to get involved in youth sports. Hi, my name is Nathan Dowler. I am a personal trainer. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I have a degree in kinesiology and I've been working in the fitness space since 2013. And I want to share a little bit of what was a key move that I made that helped me get a lot of momentum in my community to get clients and to get experience for myself. So when I was 23 years old, I got a job as a strength and conditioning coach at my local high school. And it was the high school that I went to and I had graduated from just a few years prior. So I kind of had an understanding of the culture and what to expect going into it. But what I did not necessarily know was that it was going to be a great funnel for me to get clients and to get experience in the coaching and personal training space. So I had that job for 7 years and it gave me a lot of experience and also brought in a lot of clients. And part of what was so opportunistic about that job was that it just put me in the right place for me to be seen and to be recognized as an authority in the fitness space. Because what happens when either kids or parents see you in a place where you have a title, you have a job, and you fulfill that role on a daily basis, they're going to assume there is a justifiable reason as to why you have that job. Again, for me as a strength and conditioning coach, people assumed, and rightly assumed, as my reputation proved to be true, that I had an expertise and a skill set in coaching youth sports and also general population. So that's one of the first things that was positive for me, is that it just got me in front of people and I became known as an authority in the space that I worked in. But of course, when it came down to it, I still had to prove that I was who people thought I was. And so of course, going into that job, I wasn't just given the role because I was some guy off the street and I was the closest person that wanted to fill the role, but I was able to do the job. But still, there was a lot that I had to learn, especially when I'm dealing with at times 20 to 30 teenagers and I'm the only coach in the room. And most, if not all of these kids had little to no experience lifting weights. So I became proficient in coaching the absolute novice and how to learn the fundamental movements. The squats, the pushes, the pulls, the hinges. And there's a lot of trends I would see in terms of like certain deficiencies that people tended to have, and also the coaching cues that worked, that would continue to work with person after person after person. So it became a very repeatable system, getting a fresh lifter caught up to pace and also recognizing a lot of the things that they would have caught on as bad habits or just the things that they're likely to repeat in terms of technical errors on certain lifts. I could address those before they happen and give right cues and be a very efficient coach in that way. So as these kids were doing reps, I was also getting reps. So no matter what age you're coaching and whether you're in the weight room like I was, you're on a soccer field or a baseball field or the basketball court, you have the ability to work with beginners. So you essentially have a clean canvas of which you can create this person to be the athlete and the performer that you want them to be. With that in mind also, you get the ability to command a room, to lead a team, and to be the person in charge of, at times, many people, tens or dozens of kids at a time that you're having to lead and orchestrate through an articulated system of a practice or a training protocol. So you become a proficient communicator and you gain confidence in your ability to command a room and to lead kids through the workout or the practice plan that you had in mind for the day. So aside from just the position that you hold as a coach, again, this could be volunteering in any sport or in any weight room or any facility where there are athletics being performed, you have the benefit of the authority in holding the office that you're in, as well as you getting practice doing the actual job that makes you better in every other space related to the field that you're in. So then from there, how do you turn this coaching experience and these athletes that you're working with into private clients? Well, truly, the job will do the work for itself, because assuming that you're showing up and you're doing a good job every day and you're getting to know these kids, and you might be shaking hands with a few parents here and there, and that you're a proficient communicator and your reputation grows upon itself, the job will do what it does without you having to do any extra work. And this is really all that it is. It's marketing, and it's you putting yourself in a place to be known and recognized for the job that you do and the service that you provide. Because kids will go home and they'll talk to their parents, even if you never meet the parents. a lot of parents will ask their kids, hey, how was your day? What did you do? And sure, they'll probably mention school, what happened in class. But when it comes to sports, a lot of kids that play sports are going to be excited to talk about that. And if you're doing a good job and they end up enjoying their time with you, they're going to talk about you. They're going to say your name, and there's going to be this mythology. Especially if the parents haven't met you, there's going to be this whole mythology created around you, because there's you doing your thing, there's a name, but there's not a face, and the kids have this massive excitement. They always have something to say about you. So before you even met the parents, a lot of times there's trust and there's an inherent interest that is gained just because they've heard a lot about you from their kids, and then the parents themselves will talk, and you end up not having to sell anything because your reputation will precede itself based on how people talk about you and the fact that their kids are becoming better athletes, they're becoming stronger in the gym, and there are results that are actually tangibly happening in front of them. And so whether this is a paid gig like it was for me, to where I was hired to do a job, or it's a volunteer role, your investment and your marketing strategy is just time. So you have to be willing to put in the time to this role, whether it's, again, coaching a sport or you're in the gym. It's just about you showing up and putting forth your best effort every time you're there, and really caring about the people that you're working with. Because if you don't develop personal relationships, even if there are dynamic results produced, it's a little tougher to overcome that lack of social connection. And it's very key that you work or volunteer in the area, in the community, in the neighborhood that you want to have your professional clients, your private clients in. Because if you live and work primarily out of one area, and then you choose to, say, volunteer with the youth sports program in the next town over, well, that's not going to do you very much good to where the community is that you want to work in. You'll have probably some amount of success in the area where you're having your coaching work done, but you want to put yourself in, ideally, the community that you live in, where you're going to volunteer with sports and also have your clients based out of. So don't just do it anywhere. Do it the place and the exact place that you want to work out of. And so what's going to happen over the course of time, once a sports season ends or when summer happens and a lot of these kids have extra time on their hands, or they want to keep their skills going and their parents want to keep them busy, they'll come to you. You'll be an outlet for their kids to keep going in their sport and to occupy a lot of time. So then what happens is you become effective to the kids and the parents. You're effective to the kids because you're putting them through a good training program. It's going to make them better at sports. And you're effective to the parents for the same reason as the kid, but also you're occupying them with time that is worth spending, especially when it comes to teenage boys, because those are the ones that you really want to make sure that they're busy doing good things when there's a lot of free time. And I'll say this too, if your goal is to coach and to work with youth athletes, that's it. This is it. Keep working this system and keep letting your reputation do what it does for itself. But I can say from my experience, what probably will happen and would be a target for you is that you want to end up coaching the parents of these kids. Because think about it, kids are only kids for a certain amount of time. Say if you're working with teenagers like I was, you have them for a maximum of 4 years during their high school time, and then they're off to college, they're doing whatever they're doing, and then you essentially have at most a 4-year turnover of clients, if not less. And also too, their schedules are quite unpredictable. There's birthday parties, there's other sports, there's just the inability to focus and to commit to one thing consistently. So I found it that a lot of the youth athletes that you'll train privately cannot be the most reliable clients. So what would hopefully be an outcome and that you'd want to look for is to begin training the parents of these kids, because the parents are the ones who, assuming they don't move away, they're here for the ongoing foreseeable future. Their schedules are a little more predictable, whether it's before work, after work, or whatever. If they have a really flexible schedule, you can fit them in better times and you can have them as clients for years on end. Then the same thing will happen to parents that led you to them, is the parents will tell their friends and their friends tell their friends, and soon you become the guy or the girl in your community that you're working in, to where you are the personal trainer. At this point, you're the family trainer, and you're a friend, and you're someone they can count on for a lot more than just training, because you have participated in the raising of their children and the bettering of their physical bodies, and you become just a very good use of their time and money. And I'll say too, for me, like, I initially didn't want to work with adults. I wanted to be the youth athlete specialist and just coach middle school and high school kids. But as soon as I saw that kind of 4-year turnover in the cycle and the inconsistency of kids and started to train more parents, I definitely started to gravitate towards the parents because it was an easier schedule. And two, with kids, talking about scheduling, it's going to be more than likely afternoons and evenings that they're available to train, unless it's summertime and you need to fill those morning hours, because those are the prime time hours for training when you're going to have your long-term, most reliable clients. And that's when the parents are going to be for you. And depending how far into personal training you are, you may or may not want to be working in the evenings, especially considering that you're going to be having long mornings once you get the adults, or if you already have some morning clients. Again, because training youth is often going to mean you're working afternoons, maybe into the evenings. You don't want to have these long 15-hour days every day, especially if that's going to include some breaks and some openings midday. You want to have as flowing and as concise and predictable as a day as possible. And at least in my opinion, ideally morning to early afternoon, and then you're done, because that's a very sustainable schedule, and that's where you're going to find your most clients that you're going to have for years on end that are going to be the best and most reliable ones are in those morning to late afternoon, early afternoon, noon hours. And with all that being said, whether you get a lot of success out of this or not, what's really cool is I can say from my experience over the cycle of kids coming through my weight room and they graduate high school, they go off to college, they come back in the summers, or they go away for a while, then they come back. I'll see them and they'll still remember me, we'll still have good connection, and they will always really just be thankful to me for introducing them to weightlifting and exercise, because a lot of them will find a passion for it. And that's what happened to me. I had a weightlifting coach who was one of my football coaches in high school who got me into weightlifting, and I have this, I automatically attach him to this passion I have for training, because if it hadn't been for him, had he not introduced it to me, I maybe wouldn't have ended up in the gym in the way I do now, especially to where I got a degree in kinesiology and I work professionally in this, and it's a big passion of my life. So a lot of these kids, I'll see them and they'll have this big amount of thankfulness and gratitude and excitement, and they always tell me how they're working out, what they're doing, and we can kind of talk shop a little bit. So what happens is you essentially establish a legacy for yourself, and it doesn't end when you cease to see these kids at your school or on the field. It's going to go on, it's going to continue even if you never see them again. And so that's just a cool side effect, because the goal for you is to generate money for yourself and to get clients. But it's just fun to see that you had a genuine effect on people and they still talk about you and think about you as years go on, even when you don't see them anymore. So again, if you're a trainer, you want to get new clients in your area, don't worry about the social media stuff. Try this, get involved with the youth sports team in your area. You can volunteer, or you can, like I did, I happened to get a paid gig. Try that out, see how it works out, but don't just try it for a season. I would say commit to it. If you could even see yourself doing it for multiple seasons, or at least 1 or 2 years to really yield the full results and for you to be a fixture in your community, I think it would have good effect for you. But if you disagree, let me know in the comments. And if you've tried this out and it's been a success for you, I want to hear about that also.